So I've logged into my AWS account, and the first thing we want to do is configure the CDK inside of our terminal. And so here I've installed the Amazon CDK, and I did that with just saying npm install and -g to make this a global installation, and AWS-CDK. And so if I run this again, it should just say that it's already installed and just kind of move past it. Um, yeah, so, well, it's actually updated 2 packages since 5 minutes ago. So that's the NPM for you. Okay, so the first thing we need to do now that we have the AWS CDK library installed is configure it. And what I'm going to do is inside of AWS, I'm going to go into, and this is going to be under security, identity, and compliance, and we're going to go into the IAM. And this would be a good time to go ahead and just fill out all of these security steps, but since this is just kind of like a temporary account for this tutorial, I am not going to worry about that too much. But what I am going to do is going to go into users, and I'm going to add a new user. And I'm just going to call this my Baylor CLI, and that is just so that I'll know this is what I'm using when I'm in the command line here. And I'm going to say this is a programmatic access account, and so that just means it's going to give me an access key ID and a secret access key, and that is so that I can use AWS API and in particular the CLI. And so we'll hit next for permissions. And we'll create a new group, and we're just going to give this person administrator access. And I'll call this Baylor admin. And we'll go to tags, but we're not going to tag this user. We'll review the policy here. And you can see we're creating a new user. We're getting the programmatic access, no boundaries, so I'm a full admin. I've put this in a group, and I've done it this way just so that I know always that if I see Baylor that this is kind of like me. And here's where we're going to need to grab our access key ID and our secret access key. And so what we'll do is we'll hop into our terminal. We'll say AWS configure. And for our access key ID, we're going to use this key ID. So I'll paste that in. And for our secret access key, we're going to copy this value and we'll paste that in. And I'm going to set this to US East 1. And you can see that here when you click on this. I guess IAM doesn't require regions, so they're all grayed out, but usually you'll see the region that you're in. And you'll usually want to make sure that everything you do is inside the same region. And so I'm choosing US East 1 just because that's closest to me, but it's also where most of the new features get released first. So if we set this, well, won't worry about an output format. And with that done, if we run AWS configure again, you'll see that it's giving us our truncated version of our values, and we can just click through that. So just so that you are aware, if you have a secret key and you realize, oh, I've put this out so that everyone can see it on YouTube and I need to delete this, I'm going to show you what you do for that. So we'll close out where we've created this account. We'll go into our user. Under security credentials, we can see this access key, and what we're going to do is make it inactive, and then we will delete it. And now that key is gone, and if I continued trying to use this information, it would no longer work. And so with that done, now we can start moving to the next step. Okay, so now that we have AWS and our CDK configured, we are ready to start building our project with the Cloudformation development kit. Okay, so that mouthful is pretty simple. What we're going to do is I'm going to make a directory. I'm in my home directory right now, and I'm going to name this source/share all the quotes. And we will cd into that directory, and this directory is empty. And what we're going to do is just call cdk init, and if we run this by itself, it's going to give us like an overview. And what we care about here is building an application. And so we'll say CDK init app. And I want to set the language equal to TypeScript. And we're going to run this. And it is going to install all the dependencies. It's initialized a new Git repository. And when this finishes, you can see that it outputs this welcome. And this is actually inside of the README. So if you want to read this again, it's not gone forever. So what we want to do is go ahead and open this up in our Visual Studio Code. And so I'm going to run the CLI command for that. Ah, that's better. Okay. So what we are interested in is two things. One, if we look inside the bin directory, we see share all the quotes.ts. And this is just kind of like the outside layer of the crust. And this is where we are defining that we are building a CDK application and that we are using this stack. And this comes from our lib share all the quotes stack. So if we go into lib and share all the quotes, you can see that we have an empty stack. We are not building anything. But that doesn't mean we can't go ahead and deploy it. And so what we'll do for that is we'll hop back into our terminal and we're going to run npm run build. And this is what you'll do every time. Let's actually add that to our README. So we'll hop over to the README, and this useful commands, that is great and everything, but we're going to come in here and say what we do for every change. And the steps are that we make changes to our lib / share all the quotes stack.ts. 2, we run npm run build to compile the TypeScript into JavaScript that AWS CDK will run. Okay. If we don't do this, then AWS CDK will use the use a previously built version of our stack. This would make us sad. Okay, and I think I can do Control Alt space, Control Command space, and cry. Okay, tears emoji. Okay, and 3. Once we've built it, so we've done that part here. We ran npm run build. We have 2 commands. This is optional. We can run cdk synth to, and this is kind of like view a strange output of what is going on. Okay, so let's run that cdk synth, and I'm not joking. Like, I'm sure this is useful for some people, but I'm not some people. This is just this, okay? It's, I don't even know. A bunch of stuff, right? So yeah, I don't ever run that. That's why we're putting that as optional. But what we do want to run is to deploy, we are ready to deploy our application to Amazon AWS services. And what we'll do is run with CDK deploy. And we will put in the rocket emoji. Okay. This one needs the confused. Okay. And this, okay, I'll stop doing that. I apologize. I'm getting kind of carried away here. But what we can do this is say CDK deploy, and this is going to take our stack, and it is going to create a change set, which just means that it's trying to look at what we have inside of our code here. It is comparing that to what's actually alive in AWS, and then you can see it's going to create the steps to deploy it. And so since we don't have anything, we get a nice simple change set and deployment. And what we can do is hop over into services, and I'm going to search for Cloud Cloudformation, and here it is. And what we'll see here is we have our share all the quotes stack. It is in status create complete, and if we click on this, we can see things like our resources that are associated with it, and events that have taken place around it, and just an overview of the whole stack. And so we're done with the first part of actually building out our stack, and we even have our handy dandy README so that we can understand how to do this. And I will have a link in the YouTube description below on where you can find this project and you can follow along. But what we'll do for the ending of this video is we'll hop over into our terminal, and I'm going to run git add all, get status to view that we've modified the README. We've added some files here. If we take a look at that, or actually we'll just diff the cached version. You can see here the changes that we made. You can see that it's added some kind of arbitrariness that AWS CDK needs to know about, and that it pulled some of this out and put it over there, and then we have our package .lock. So I'll commit with this and say, woo, we have a deployed CDK environment. Okay, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.